Hi everyone and welcome to this video. I love 3D printing, like really love 3D printing. But I also love motorbikes. And it got me thinking, does every motorbike rider need a 3D printer? So today we're gonna go through a lot of 3D prints that I found online to do with motorbikes, and you can decide for yourself whether you think you need a 3D printer or not. Now, I will stipulate a couple of things. One, I 3D printed these about a year ago, to be completely honest. I planned this video and have only just got around to actually going through the prints. But when I printed them, I had my old printer, which was an Ender 3 Pro. And honestly, you can get away with an Ender 3 Pro, but I never had the printer set up correctly and never put in the time to get it dialed in fully. So some of the prints look pretty shit, to be honest. But they could look a lot better, especially now I've got a Bamboo P1S printer, which prints flawlessly out of the box, didn't really require any setting up, and every print that I've had so far off that is flawless. So don't take the look of the prints necessarily for the quality of the prints. It's more of just that I didn't set up my printer properly. Another thing I'll say is that I have printed everything with PLA. PLA is the most basic, like bottom sort of print filament that you can use. And it's not really weather resistant. It doesn't take to heat well. And it's also not the strongest. You could print in carbon fiber if you have the correct printer and the filament and everything to go with it. But knowing that I wasn't actually going to use most of these prints, I just printed them in PLA just to show them off. So things like this lever, obviously out of PLA, this isn't gonna last. It's going to break, I can promise you that. But see here, you can hopefully see what I'm trying to say, how it just doesn't look the best. Looks fine on that side, but yeah, it's not the best quality print, but it's just because of the printer and the settings that I had. But we have a lot of prints to go through here, so let's dive into it. I will say too that some of these prints are just so stupid, but a lot of them are actually really cool and actually really helpful. A lot of servicing stuff. So let's get into it and we'll start talking through what we have. So I want to break the prints up into a few different categories. Servicing is a great category. You've got GoPro, can pretty much have its own category. And then you've got things like, they're cool and custom for the bike, but in all reality, I don't know how many people are actually going to use them. And some things are just like, honestly, why? But it might be cool to someone, just not to me. I will also state that I don't have a running bike at the moment, so I would love to show a few of these things off functioning on the bike. But of course, I'll wait till I don't have a bike available to use to record this video. But anyway, let's have a look at what we got. All right, so first, let's look into servicing. Now, kind of subcategory for servicing is these things, and these are all lube shields. So if I grab a can of WD-40 real quick, you can see a lot of what these do is this one will clip onto this can very snugly. Probably would fit better if the print was printed at better quality, but essentially it goes on the can like that, so that when you spray onto your chain lube, this barrier stops it from spraying onto every other part of the bike. You got this one that sits on your WD-40 can, and also if your can has a straw, it's got a hole in here that you put the straw in, and then it comes out at the bottom here on the chain. You've also got different ones that essentially do the same thing. You've got this one which screws onto your WD-40 can like that, and another one, this one actually replaces this lid here. So that would go on, and then when you spray, it'll come out the end up here. So as you can see, there are many different types of the sort of chain lube accessories. And then you've got other things, funnels. There is so many different types of funnels to print. I've actually used this one quite a lot, and it's really good having this like skew funnel. When your oil cap is in a really weird spot and it's hard to get to, it's nice to have a funnel that you can put in and it will actually be flat when you pour in the oil. So this one is actually one I'm going to keep. I've used it quite a bit already and it's really, really good. You've also got things like this, which is a chain guide. Essentially, you will put this like this and move your chain and it will show you on here. It's got a measurement. Hopefully the camera will focus enough. Probably not. But it's got a measurement guide here to show you how much chain slack you have. So that's a pretty cool tool. So that's a pretty cool tool as well. You've got these little prints I've got here, which are actually really, really cool. So these are bit holders, and I have used these quite a bit as well. There's a few different ones, few different sizes, and then a round one as well. These are really good when you got a really tight area to get into and you just need to put a little bit in it and you can undo what you need to undo without having to cut down a screwdriver, which I've had to do in the past. You've got things like this, which goes on a fuel jug. So that screws onto the fuel jug. You need to add your own piece of hose, and then there's a stop for the end of the hose, which is really cool if you don't have a fuel can which has a hose coming off it. And then last but not least, for our servicing, you've got this contraption, which I've never actually set up properly, but essentially you put, I think it's got 6 toothbrushes. You cut the ends off the toothbrushes and put 3 in here, 3 on the top. You then sandwich that together over your chain and then run your chain through it and it will clean your chain. So it's a bit of a chain cleaner, pretty thorough apparently according to the instructions, but again, I've never actually used the thing and it didn't print well enough that I'm going to use it, to be honest. Oh, I should quickly state one other thing that I forgot is this little gauge here. It's got depth threads with little pins sticking off each side, and this is to check your tire tread. So essentially you just put it in until it bottoms out and that will tell you how many millimeters of tread you have left on each tire, which is really cool. All right, next up we're gonna go with kind of like the custom accessory route for bikes. I haven't got too many of these, but I've got a couple of things that are kind of cool and you know, it is what it is. Also some little things just for the fun if you're a bike person. So one of them is this keychain. It's like a chain and it rotates, which is pretty cool to put together. Sort of like a fidget toy keychain. It's got Yamaha written on it. You can print it in whatever colors you want. It's pretty cool. It's got a little engine on the back of it. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. You've got replacement parts for bikes, which again, I wouldn't print in PLA, but if you had a printer that's capable of printing something better, like carbon fiber or ASA, something more heat resistant. This is a replacement oil cap knob from a Hyosung 650. And then you've also got this Yamaha R6 bolt cover, which goes at the top of your triple tree on the center nut. A little bit of a custom accessory there. Again, wouldn't print that in PLA. Something more heat resistant would be a lot better. You've then got things like these little caps here. One's got a plus, one's got a minus, and they go over your battery terminals to help keep them covered and away from shorts and all that sort of stuff. Just to help clean up the bike a little bit. Also pretty cool. One of the things that I think is really cool with the 3D printer is printing things like these. This is a Batman valve cap. And again, don't take my printer's quality for it, but these are pretty cool. So you've got Batman valve caps. There's some dice valve caps, which are cool. We got some dinosaur heads, some little T-Rex heads, and then also some Christmas trees, which is cool. So if you're someone that likes to custom your bike to holidays, that's pretty cool. You can get little pumpkin heads and all that sort of stuff for Halloween. And there's so many different valve caps that you can download and print. Now, I do have a couple of why would you print these things, but if you think they're cool, okay. I'm not even gonna bother putting this together, but essentially what I've got here is, kind of, if I can get it, a wing, sort of wing, and that bolts onto there, and there'll be another one on the other side, and that goes on your windscreen, and you have a little wing on your windscreen. That's going straight in the bin, but it's there if you ever wanted to print it. Another thing is this wing to go on the side of the bike. Kind of cool, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. Again, it's going in the bin. As I stated in the intro, you can print things like levers or levers, depending on how you want to say it. Again, PLA is not going to be the best. I mean, there you go. That's how strong that is. I can just break it like that. So if you ever had to break hard, it's probably going to break. Make sure you print it out of something like carbon fiber at like a 80% infill instead of the 15% that this was printed at, just for demonstration purposes. But that's also in the bin. We've got a handbrake, which is cool. I do actually use things like this quite often. Essentially, you put it over your handlebar and clip it onto your front handbrake, your front brake. So essentially, you would put it over, pull your front brake back, clip it on, and then that stops your brake from coming off. This brake is not actually attached right now, hence why it's so loose. But if it was tight, it would hold it and stop it from coming out. I like to use these when I am putting my bike on, say, a trailer, because that way it's going to hold the front brake and it's just a little bit more secure than if it was free. We have this, which is, you put a rubber band on here, it clips onto your handlebar, and it is a cruise control. So essentially you can move it around, and that's going to hold your throttle where it is once you put a rubber band on it to help keep it tight. And I mean, I've never used it. I don't know how it would work, but apparently people were raving on about it, so I printed it off to show you. These things are actually pretty cool. Essentially, what this is it goes on the strap of your backpack to, I'm just gonna keep throwing it on the ground, to hold the strap so that it keeps it straight, it keeps it together with the rest of the strap, so that when you're riding, they're not flapping all over the place and whipping you in the sides. So these are pretty cool, and I'll definitely be keeping these to put on my bags. All right, so I do have a couple of functional prints in a way. So what we have here is we've got these round cone things, and essentially quite straightforward. I mean, kind of a waste if you ask me, you could just use anything, but essentially put these around on the ground to help practice maneuvering around. So, I mean, cool. My kids will use these for soccer and stuff, so that's cool. I'll keep those. We've got cards to put your kickstand on. Literally called it a kickstand card, and that's going to help stop your kickstand from sinking into the grass. You could just be like me and just crush up a can and put it underneath, but it's cool to have it. It's got a little Honda symbol on it, so if you want to customize it to your brand, that's cool. These things are funny to me. So I don't have a jumper on, but essentially these go in the sleeve of your jumper, and it's like a little air conditioner for your arm. Apparently, yeah, so that goes in your sleeve. You have one on each hand, so when you're riding along, it'll blow air up your jacket. Now, probably the only thing I've printed so far that I actually use all the time, well, permanently, is these. I printed 4 because I planned on putting 4 on each side, but changed my design of my backdrop. But these are helmet hooks. So if I take my helmet off here, this is my main helmet. I've got a hook here. Essentially, there's that, just bolts to the wall, and your helmet just sits on there like that. Pretty cool. There are also other designs like this one. So you bolt that to the wall, helmet sits on there, and it actually has a little hook on the bottom here if you wanted to put, say, a coat hanger with your jacket or anything like that. I just like these designs better because I think they're more sleek. All right, last but not least, we have, I think I saved the best to last, is GoPro? What are you? Is GoPro Accessories. So there's a range of different GoPro things that you can download. You got things like this ball, the little knob to add the bolt. It's sort of like a pivoting ball, which is pretty cool. You've got a handlebar mount. So you would bolt that over your handlebar, and then you've got the normal slots there that your GoPro would go into. So if I got my GoPro, as you see, it would slot into there, as GoPros do, and you add your nut and bolt. You've got this one which mounts in your helmet. So if I grab my helmet, essentially this would mount up in your helmet under here. Of course, this helmet is not the right design for it. And then you have your chin mount for your GoPro there. Also got the same thing here, which you would mount underneath like that. And then our last one we have for that is your 90-degree angle mount. So essentially this would go in your mount and bring your GoPro round to the front. So another sort of chin mount. That's probably the one that I would most likely use because I can use a normal mount on the side of my helmet and then have this come around the front to secure the GoPro where I want it. There are a couple more GoPro options that I have downloaded, and that is, first of all, this one, which will be used in conjunction with my handlebar mount, and that will essentially click onto there, and that holds the GoPro remote. So you get your GoPro remote, the connector that comes with the remote bolts onto there, and then you slide it in. That's now locked in place. So if you use a GoPro remote with your GoPro, that's a cool setup there. There's a hole in the back so you can unlock it and pull it back off. Another GoPro mount, this one's a bit weird. I don't know why you would use it on a motorbike, but essentially this goes in a pocket if you have a shirt with a pocket, and will hold your GoPro in the middle of your chest, well, on the side of your chest. Last but not least is this last GoPro mount, and this one goes underneath your number plate. So you mount it under the number plate, drill some holes in it, mount it, and then you've got your GoPro that will sit under your number plate or on top, depending on which way you orient it, and just bolt that over your number plate, which is not last. This one is a passenger foot peg, so that will bolt in where your passenger foot peg goes, and then has a mount on it for the GoPro. So that's going to be it for this video. Hi everyone, Future Editing Adam here. I just wanted to come on and say a couple of things. First of all, as I said at the beginning of the video, I did print all this stuff about a year ago, so I'm sure there's a lot more prints out there, a lot more models out there to print than there was a year ago. So it's just what I found at the time. Also, if you're any good at 3D designing, your possibilities are endless. You could design anything you want, make a 3D model, and then just print it on your machine, ready to go, whether it's for servicing, bike parts, whatever you want to do. If you are actually interested in getting into 3D modeling, Fusion 360 is what I use. I find it very easy to use. It took a little bit of a learning curve, but once I learned how to use it, it was Fusion does have an annual subscription, or there is the free version, which is what most people use. You only really need to pay for it if you're going to be making money from using it. So that's all I wanted to say. Now back up to this idiot up here. Let me know what you think. Do you think you need a 3D printer? Does every motorbike rider need a 3D printer? Does everyone who services their motorbikes need a 3D printer? Let me know down in the comments if you think that we all need 3D printers. My name is Adam from BKR Custom Motorbikes, and I will see you next time.